Meeple Talk!
Hello everyone, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Adam.
And this week, welcome to Meeple Talk, I should say. We almost forgot who we were.
Yes.
Well, I should say I did. Oops.
I never forget.
Yeah.
I'm like an elephant.
Oh, okay. So this week we've got a new edition, Codenames Duet, released just this year. Czech Games edition. And I apologize if I mispronounced the designer names. So we've got Vlada Chvatil and Scott Eaton. So hopefully, I did it justice. So for those who are familiar with Codenames, or even if you're not, Codenames is the original versions were team versus team guessing, trying to get their certain agents being identified before identifying any assassins, which could kill them off. It was always done as a group-based game, so Codenames Duet is specifically designed with 2 players in mind. Yeah. And so now you can play with more, but they did it as a cooperative game instead of a competitive one.
Yes, which is surprising because I thought it would be a, spy versus spy sort of thing, black versus white or something like that, but it is a cooperative game only. So
Exactly, with a time cap limit. So I guess we might as well dive into the components and check that out to begin.
So Codenames Duet is a game especially for 2 players, and you will start with a 5x5 grid of cards. Now these cards each have a single word on it. You'll notice that it's in both directions, so players on both sides of the table can see what the card is. There's a giant stack of cards that you can choose from, so no game is the same. There are also mission maps, and you'll notice that these mission maps have 2 sides. So one player will only be working on this mission map, and we'll say player 2 will be working on the other mission map. So the way the mission maps work is your goal in the game, and by the way, this is a cooperative game, so the 2 players are both trying to beat the game, so to speak. So player 1 then will be working with this map, and you'll see there's green squares. So they look at the squares and they look at the corresponding cards that are on the table. So these 2 are green. So these are agents that player 1 wants player 2 to guess. He wants to find them in the field. These black squares indicate the assassins. Now, if during the game any player guesses one of the 3 assassins on one or the other side, the game is immediately over for the players and they have lost. So now the gray ones are neutral people, so it's sort of just like innocent bystanders. And if you guess an innocent bystander, you haven't lost the game, but you can no longer make any guesses on that turn. And a token is placed there. These are called timer tokens. So another part of the game is only 9 turns. So there's 9 timer tokens that are gray that you can see over here. There's also an extra 2 in case you want to play an easier game. You can add 1 or 2 more tokens. So basically when those timer tokens have run out, if you haven't guessed all of your cards, you can do what they call a sudden death, where you can just guess cards, and if you guess all of the green cards, you win. Now there's a total of 15 of these green agent cards. Green agents. Well, they're green. So there's 9 on one side and 9 on the other, but 3 of them are overlapping on both sides. So a total of 15. So that means that when you guess, you need to guess more than 1 card. So the way you actually play the game, let's say player 1 starts, they will say a single word and a single number. So for example, painting 2. Let's say they are trying to have the other player guess this Mona Lisa. Well, Mona Lisa is a painting. Maybe the player will guess this one. If they guess it, it's correct, and you will put a green agent card on it. They have found one of their agents. Now let's say they choose another card. Well, let's say I don't know what else they might choose for another one, but they have another guess. Let's say they make a mistake and they choose an innocent bystander. I don't know why Crusader would be picked, but then you would put the timer token on that card. If they guess the second one successfully, you wouldn't put the timer token there. You instead maybe guess another agent. But then, when their turn is done, they will take a timer token and indicate... Sorry, I'll put it on this side, because this is the player doing the guessing. So they would take a timer token and indicate that they have finished guessing. So then player 2 will then look at the other side of the board on their mission map, I should say, and they're trying to get the player 1 to guess all of these green cards. And basically, play continues from one side to the other, players giving each other clues. And again, the most important thing is a lot of the clues need to be at least 2 cards. So you have to think what will apply to 2 cards, but not apply to any of the 3 assassins. And if the players can guess all of their agents, they win the game.
Now, one thing, when Adam was describing the components we didn't get into yet, one of the things that they did to expand upon the base game is that if you wanted to have a lengthier series,
But more players? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, but if you wanted to do like an epic game over multiple plays,
okay,
they
yes.
also have these extra maps, so you could... each zone of the world, you'll have different games that you'll be playing, and they'll represent different missions. And if you can complete your tasks around the map, this is one way that you can expand upon your gaming experience over multiple plays. So that's kind of interesting how they added that to customize.
Kind of like a global spy versus spy, kind of like Xander Cage or something, going around the world, finding people out.
Okay. I don't know what Xander Cage is, but...
Oh, from Triple X? That's
no, I don't
Xander
remember.
Cage.
Oh, yeah. It's been
He's
a while.
generally, yes, that kind of guy. Anyway.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I'm not with it. What can I say?
So, let's talk about what this game is like. First of all, I want to say, if you have played Codenames, the original game, or Codenames Pictures, the kind of like, game with pictures.
Yep.
This is basically the same type of game. The game mechanic is the same. You're trying to guess, but it's not the same. Doesn't have the same feel at all. Number one, it's cooperative. So both of the players are trying to help each other out without giving each other hints. So it's kind of like on your honor. You don't want to give away a clue to the other player while you're trying to give clues to the other player. So it's interesting that way. But the other thing is that I really want to point out is that the game feels very different. This game feels a lot harder. It's kind of like chess versus checkers, I would say, where checkers is like, oh, I'll move here, I'll move there. Oh no, something bad happened, right? I mean, if you're a competitive checker player, it might not be like that. But chess is a game where it's like, I hope I don't make a mistake. Oh, I lost my queen. What a disaster. That's the type of game this is. This is a much more competitive, a much more stressful game, because in the original game, both teams might pick a single card because they can't find any clues. In this game, you've only got 3 options, 3 of the timer cards that can only be a single choice. After that, if you make another single choice, you've lost the game because now you don't have any time left. So you have to always think, how can I combine a clue for at least 2 cards, maybe 3 cards. But that is a lot more difficult in this game because now there's 3 assassins. So try keeping 3 different words in your head all the time when you give out a clue for 2 or more other cards. So this is not a game for the casual player. It's definitely a game for someone who really likes Codenames and is good at it and wants to play, like, I can't say a competitive game, but I guess a competitive game against the game. Because it's cooperative. It's not player versus player. But it is a hard game. It is a more stressful game. And if you liked Codenames, you may or may not like this game. So I just want to make that really clear based on our play of it.
Yeah. And, well, I was going to say some similar things to that. Now, you can customize the stress level of it or the time limit because you'll have 2 extra player tokens that if you want to relieve some of that pressure, you can. It gives you that option. Now, the thing is how to compare it. Well, we've also got to keep in mind that the other Codenames games are really not meant for 2 people because you're versing the other side. You always need at least a third person or more to help get those games going. And so this one was designed specifically with 2 people in mind. So I give them credit for that. Is that how can we take this game that does really well in our other versions and make it fit for 2? Now, obviously, being a cooperative game, you've got to add tension. So this seems like a reasonable approach to add tension. You want to maybe cap the number of chances, because in the original game, you could, with the other players, if you think, well, maybe they won't really get a lot of clues selected, maybe I can ease off a bit and do these quick, one guess, one card, quick clues. Or you can just, for the heck of it, take a risk and say, okay, we've got this clue for like 4 cards, go. And you can, you can play with how that amount of risk you take on. In this one, it's decided for you because you've really got your total turns that are going to tell you. And that's where you really have to think about, can I get these matched up with, 2 cards per guess? Because really, you've only got limited time to do that in. That being said, I still like how it is a fun game. I really like games like Codenames because it really challenges how you think about not only words or images, but how small, minute things could relate to each other. So I like that mental exercise, and that's what I really like. And it's carried over from the other versions of Codenames to here as well. And so I think they do a really good job with that. I like how you have your individual agents that you have to co-guess, but also the other thing too is that the assassins, there's more assassins, so that's where the extra level of risk comes from as well. So it's a tricky game to really compare to the other versions just because of what it's meant for, but I would still say if you like that challenge, it is a difficult or it is a stressful game, but you know what, give it a try. The only thing we couldn't really comment on is the long expanded version with the map because we haven't played that yet. So if you have tried it, because it's newly released, if you have gotten a copy and you had played this version, leave it in the comments. Let us know. We'd like to hear what this is all about. But otherwise, I'd say, give it a try, especially if you have got limited players or if you like 2-player games or, have always been a 2-player group that has a hard time finding games for your game night. This would be a good one to try. Yeah.
Yeah. And as my final thoughts on the game, I think you definitely, if you first play it, you should play with 11 timers. What are they called? Timer tokens?
Yeah, timer tokens.
Yeah, so play with 11 of them, and then, if you want to make it harder, go with 9. The rules specifically say that 9 is the standard game, and I think that's unfortunate, because some people may play it thinking that it's going to be a fun, lighthearted game, and then they'll lose. Like, we lost the first 3 games we played, so... with 9 timer tokens. You
may have a good time playing it, but have no hope of actually succeeding.
Feel like playing but not winning? No, I'm just kidding. I mean, obviously, this sort of game, it's intended to be played over and over, and you'll get better and better. So 9 memory tokens may be a lot easier after you've played it several times, and they might actually say it's too easy, and then maybe take another one out. I don't know. But it's definitely for the core person who really, really liked the game and wants more. So... that's our review.
Yeah. And
Thanks
come
for
check
watching.
out our other videos. We'll see you soon.